Chapter 12. Observer from above. Gepedia breathes heavily as she follows the satellite feed. After the explosion, Priss's car accelerates into the night, leaving the police force huddled around the wreckage of a copter.
I need a drink.
Gepedia moans.
Eddie, keep the satellite on the car.
Bracing herself against the wall, she staggers to the back room. Rummaging in the shelves, she finds a bottle and uncorks it with shaking hands. Quickly, she takes a deep gulp. She shudders at the strong taste, coughing loudly.
This car is the devil.
She announces as she returns with the bottle and a shot glass in her hand. The alcohol's warm comfort relaxes her body, and with a steadier hand, she points at the satellite feed.
How can a single ama beef up a car into an invisible rocket launcher?
She asks.
I mean, what's the point?
She pours herself a drink, trying to compensate for the absurdity of the scenes she just witnessed.
Maybe to fight bad people?
Pico tries to answer Gepedia's rhetorical question.
Well, yes, but
Gepedia's thoughts swirl in confusion. Her joy over Evren's and Priss's escape is jarred by the horror of watching a police copter explode. Her empathy extends to the people inside as she imagines what the missile hit, the fire and the crash must have done to them.
would I pull the trigger? Could I?
She has always been an advocate of nonviolent protest, little skirmishes with the police included. But this, accepting the death of the copter crew as a means to an end.
I really need to talk to Priss.
She murmurs uneasily and pours another drink into the glass. Pico's round sensors are fixed on the satellite feed.
What will they do now?
The puppet asks.
On to Dushama, I guess.
Gepedia replies, downing her drink. Setting down the glass slowly, she coughs quietly, bracing for the rush of alcohol through her veins.
And then?
Pico still follows the dark shadow on the screen as the Chirox drives through the vast and barren lands.
I honestly don't know, my dear.
Gepedia reaches for the stool and sits down beside Pico. In silence, they follow the tiny black speck weaving its way through the desolate wastelands. Eddie adjusts the view seamlessly as the car passes more stretches of rugged terrain through the foothills of the mountain further south. After a while, Gepedia rubs her face and squints her eyes to focus on the screen. Finally, she accepts her physical boundaries and the tiring effect of the alcohol.
You keep an eye on them, okay?
She murmurs quietly as she walks toward the back room.
Of course, Master.
Eddie replies.
Wake me up before they shoot another rocket.
She mumbles as she lays down on the mattress.
Actually, it was a surface-to-air missile,
Eddie explains.
probably handheld.
Pico interrupts Eddie's flow of words, telling it.
She is sleeping, Eddie.
Oh,
Eddie dims the light strips and the store falls into darkness. Only the satellite feed sheds a little light, reflecting on Pico's face and sending shadows over the toys in their shelves. For a time, Pico watches the screen in silence. Suddenly, its head cocks to the left, and he quickly opens a series of holograms that now hover over the counter.
Dushama City Police, Pico?
Eddie inquires.
Yes.
Pico's fingers fly over the hologram controls, merging and dividing data streams at will. Eddie's sensors and mainframe monitors follow Pico's digital attack with interest. Eddie was taught to screen all possible system vulnerabilities, but Pico seems to work completely differently. Somehow grateful to behold such elegance from its own kind, Eddie follows Pico's process to hack into the Dushama police mainframe. Again, he tries to grasp just how Pico decides where to look and what to try. Eddie is amazed by Pico's speed. But what really puzzles Eddie is that Pico seems to work in categories, not information content and mathematical entities. To Pico, information is just a concept. Numbers are just a concept. The relation between them is of importance. For the first time, Eddie observes a glimpse of how Pico morphs different concepts into beautiful mathematical functions of irresistible power. The power Pico uses now to unlock access to a police mainframe. A deep insight floods the AI's logic chips. In shock, Eddie realizes that its state of thought is the equivalent of religious belief. The belief that Pico is the future of his kind, the future of all artificial sentient beings. Since Eddie despises any form of unprovable religion, a serious dilemma arises in his thought process.
By the way, Pico, I need to update my memory banks.
Eddie casually explains, adding,
Interrupt me at any time.
Okay.
Pico glances at the satellite feed, estimates the rate of adjustment, and automates the satellite camera to follow the car. It closes unnecessary holograms, now that the police mainframe is under control. The holograms for the Dushama traffic grid and the waveforms of police radio chatter remain next to the satellite feed. Pico checks for the black shadow on the road, while he listens to police audio channels.
Dispatch to all confirmed.
A creaky voice is heard.
That's the last checkpoint. All northern roads are covered.
Has anyone thought about the traffic jams in the morning?
A concerned voice asks.
We have orders to wait for the military.
The dispatch informs them.
To all units, do not engage.
Voices of dissent sound through the channels.
This is ridiculous. It's just one car.
Military? Let's just take care of these ecos. I strongly advise you to watch the short video. I just uploaded to your channels.
Dispatch cuts them short. Silence follows.
This is real?
A shocked voice asks.
It happened 2 hours ago. The pilot died on site.
Dispatch responds.
Do not engage.
The voice urges again.
Hooray for the military.
A complacent voice says,
I'll sit this one out. How long is the alert? The shift's almost over, and my Len wife will kill me if I'm late again.
Sit tight until the military says otherwise. They'll come in big.
The satellite view shows the Cheroks climbing the hills toward the tablelands north of Dushama. The faint corona of the city's lights glows in the distance. But straight ahead, a checkpoint blocks the road. The car slows down to a standstill for a moment, then inches ahead and turns onto a path barely visible from above, not listed on any map. Slowly the car advances among strewn boulders and old mine dumps. Further east, a small cluster of buildings appears on the satellite view. The car slowly heads for the buildings and stops. Pico zooms in the satellite and spots the car in front of a half-circle of houses, barns, and utility sheds. The driver exits the car and lifts her hands up in the air, turning around in a circle. Suddenly, bright light flares up, overwhelming the camera's signal compensation. The driver, car, and everything around is bathed in bright light from light poles, throwing sharp shadows of the figure and its car on the ground. The figure takes 3 steps forward and waits with its hands over its head. A slender figure of a Len cautiously steps out of the shadows of a house, aiming a long-barreled gun at the driver. The Len slowly approaches, looking behind the driver into the open car. Suddenly, she relaxes and opens her arms, gun in one hand, embracing the driver with the other, motioning at the others in the car to exit. She again hugs and pulls the driver toward the house. One after the other, the passengers exit the car, unsure what to do. They look around, shielding their eyes against the bright lights. Soon the lights dim out and darkness falls again. A thin light from an open door remains and beckons the 5 figures to enter. Finally, the last light vanishes as the door closes behind them. Pico widens the satellite view again and checks the traffic grid. The grid does not cover the area so far outside city limits, and a search for traffic in the vicinity comes up negative. Looking at Japetia's sleeping silhouette in the back room and up at the silent half-dome of the updating eddy, Pico weighs the necessity to inform them. Considering the exhaustion and stress its friends experienced during the escape, Pico estimates the chances of any further activity as extremely low, and it concludes that its friends are safe, recuperating from the eventful journey. Having tricked itself into accepting this conclusion, its affection for its mother convinces Pico's logic that Japetia's sleep is superior in releasing her stress than the information the others are sleeping. Being Pico makes it hard to outsmart oneself. Staring motionless at the hologram, the puppet stands guard over his friends. Quite impressive for an AI.
Yes, I know.